morning, everybody. Welcome. Yeah. We hope you had a really great Lager Days week event party thing. Okay. I always love it when summer hits and the valley gets full. We meet so many people every year, and it's truly a blessing to be here. It's great when people come back, and they come back over time, and sometimes they come out during winter. We end up skiing together. And you always have a home here, just so you know. Last week, I'm sorry, but this microphone is too loud. Switch it. This one, the trusty Nathan microphone. That is way better. All right. Sorry. Last week, we were in Psalm 127, and in that sermon, we talked about how God builds his church by using people's spiritual gifts. And the week before that, we were in Psalm 78, where we discussed building hope for future generations. And I get it, easier said than done. It can be nerve-wracking to hear a call to action. And last week, I didn't have a call to action, and this week, I don't either. I know that people can be in different seasons of their life, and I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable. The goal of this sermon today is to boost everyone's courage. We all need courage to exercise those gifts that we talked about last week. And the best courage comes from trust. So we're going to be in Psalm 27. And this psalm is known as a wisdom psalm. Yes, I'm sorry, a trust in God psalm. I'm sorry, I'm psalm crazy, okay? But this is known as a trust in God psalm. Yes, they're trust in God psalms. And they're intended for the building of our courage by edifying our trust in God. How blessed we are that the Psalms serve as a model prayer for us during times of distress. They uplift us, they edify us, and they strengthen us. And don't worry, today you will be blessed with a free sampler of all those trust in God psalms. So I'd like to pray before we get started. Please bow your head in prayer. Father God, thank you so much for every person in this church. Thank you for these faithful people that trust you during seasons of change. Help us, Jesus, to be strong and courageous with our spiritual gifts. Please help us to pass your story to the next generation so that our children are wise to the devil's schemes. Lord, please place your hand of protection over the courageous firefighters, first responders, and emergency crews that are working tirelessly on the front lines of fire. Please grant them strength, clear wisdom, and safety from harm, and bless them who are truly the bravest amongst us. Those who have the strength and courage to fight the devil's fire toe to toe. Dear Lord, you are the builder of everything in our lives. If not, everything we do is in vain. And we recognize that without you, we will take our children down with us. So we draw near to you, Abba Father, and we humbly beg to live in your house all the days of our lives, so that our family line, our house, will always know you. Your marvelous works and everlasting grace and mercy. Bullets danced all around me, but they could not touch me, because even when I didn't love you, you loved me. You love me because you are truly the Father of us all, inside and outside the church. You are the Father of us all. In Jesus' name we believe and pray. Amen. Amen. It's not my water bottle, it's Claire's, but this one is harder to spill on my computer, so I have this one. That's why I'm fighting with the cap. Last week we talked about how God uses people's spiritual gifts to build the church. This week we're going to talk about trusting God during seasons of change. Trusting in God because courage comes through trust. And we need courage to use our spiritual gifts. In my prayer this morning, I said that even when I did not love God, He loved me. And this might sound crazy to some. Not you guys. But I want to tell you about a time in my life where I didn't love God, but I trusted Him. And I can tell you with 100% certainty that I trusted Him. And I will explain this later. Today's sermon is about a powerful type of courage, the courage that comes from trust. I saw a lot of different types of courage during my 20 years in the Army. But courage from trust has to be one of the most powerful. And if I'm not making sense to you, I'll give you this example. People have the courage to jump out of planes because they trust their parachute. Okay? As I read Psalm 27, please say these words in your mind and your conscience. Please say them towards the adversity in your life, the things that try to scare you. It is meant for you to pray this. It is meant for you to feel this, to build the courage in you. How blessed we are. Psalm 27, verses 1 through 5. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked came against me to eat up my flesh, my enemies and foes, they stumbled and fell. Though an army may encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war may rise against me, in this I will be confident. One thing I have desired of the Lord, that will I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in His temple. For in the time of trouble He shall hide me in His pavilion. In the secret place of His tabernacle He shall hide me. He shall set me high upon a rock. Verses 1 and 2. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When evildoers assail me to eat up my flesh, my adversaries and foes, it is they who stumble and fall. I'm sorry that I read that verse in a different version on my notes, but you guys understand. These two verses emphasize that because God acts as the ultimate defense, there is no need to fear even the most vicious attackers. Last week, we heard David's son Solomon say, unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. And we talked about how any security we try to provide is for nothing if we don't put God first. David trusts in the Lord, especially when times are hard. Earlier, I made a bold statement. I said that with 100% certainty, I could tell you that I trusted the Lord, but I meant it. I really mean it in all seriousness. I trusted the Lord not because I was a faithful servant or a good Christian. I was far from that when this was going on. when I was in war. But I trusted him and I believed in him because I saw his great works. I saw them with my own eyes. Though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. These words are sweet music to my ear. And why be confident? Why is David so confident? Why am I confident or so confident in the Lord? I have two examples today why we should be confident. And I'm really happy to talk to you guys today. This is not out of my notes. This is just me talking to you. I can give you the perspective of physical or spiritual today and how trusting in the Lord works in both. I have two examples today of why we should be confident. One example is spiritual warfare, and one of modern warfare. In spiritual warfare, it can really feel this way around a group of people, like you're surrounded. And when I went to my first Bible study here, this was many years ago, I knocked on the door, and if you know me, you know that war has destroyed my hearing. I don't know if someone said, come in. I didn't hear anything. I thought about knocking again because I could hear people in there, but I couldn't make out what they were saying. So I decided to open the door, and I heard a man snap at his wife, and he said, he's the one standing outside like he's too young to be here. And I was like, whoa. And as I opened the door, now, most people will tell you newer Christians are at their most vulnerable point. Keep that in mind. So I walked in there, and I'm thinking, just talk to a couple people. Surely they will all be rude, right? And surely they will offend me, and then I never have to come back again. Great. So I looked around for someone I thought would probably not want to talk to me, and I saw Mr. Barry, and he had a very serious look on his face. And I thought, surely he would not want to talk to me or something like that. Or maybe, I don't know, he just had a very serious look on his face. And then I would have an excuse not to come here again. But I was wrong. And he was great. He talked to me like we were on the same team. And we talked about the Bible. And all the other people there were great. But I thought to myself, how crafty of the devil that the first voice, the first impression I got was not good. At the most vulnerable point, how crafty, the only person that was agitated that day was the one I ran into. I've had shots fired at me in spiritual warfare and in modern warfare, but because of this small battle in spiritual warfare, I gained a powerful lesson. I understood that I trusted God when it came to physical conflict or warfare, extreme violence situations, but I did not trust. I understood that I trusted God in physical warfare, but not in spiritual warfare. I was not as strong at spiritual warfare. I was weak. And because I was weak at it, I was looking for an excuse not to go. Like, man, why did I agree to this? Oh, man, here we go. And I felt ashamed of that because there were really nice people in there. So, though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war rise against me, I will be confident. I have heard quite a few pastors say this. This is the part they cannot relate to, or they can't relate to David in the Psalms because they have not been pursued by enemies that were trying to attack them. I wrote this, and it got really long. I had to take this out, but I really wish I could talk to all of them. Be like, no, you're so much more important. Spiritual warfare is so much more important. And I understand that. I think it's one of the reasons the Psalms are my favorite my favorite book in the Bible. I am no David, but I can relate to his words and feel his worry and triumph in some Psalms. But the Psalms were not created for David to brag about his fighting experience. They are meant to guide us through troubled times of any sort. They're meant to model prayer for us when we are too hurt to speak. They help us both in spiritual or physical warfare. Now, Lord forbid anyone in here ever have to defend their own life or defend innocent people from being attacked. But if you do, trust in the Lord. Please take total confidence in Psalm 37. And I didn't realize I was living out its guidance. There have been 2 times in my life where I was surrounded by people with guns that were trying to kill me. It was in Afghanistan, not the hood. And I know of a time where my wife was standing by to be overrun. It didn't matter what your job was in 2006 Afghanistan, you were going to get shot at eventually. As soon as I hear gunfire, my heart drops into the pit of my stomach, and I feel, uh-oh. One of my friends could get hurt today. It's a horrible feeling. But my confidence was always high because he trained my hands and my fingers. I had a peace that passes all understanding. I accepted that I could die. And I would talk to God in my mind. I put it all in his hands. I commit my ways to him. I just told myself, if you're going to die, die well. Some of you remember a sermon from last year about Psalm 5. In it, I talked about the first time I ever fired a gun at a human being. I did it in rage, anger, and deep-seated hatred for Muslims. Some of you might remember that sermon, so after that day, I couldn't read this part, but I'm going to read it anyway. I almost killed someone that didn't deserve it. Yeah. So, some of you might remember that sermon. So after that day, in those moments I knew it's about to get bad. We're about to start shooting. I took 100% comfort. I'm not going to make decisions. I took 100% comfort in knowing that because I would never ever fire my weapon at an innocent person, the Lord would look out for me. If in these horrible situations, if I made sure that innocent people were protected, God would take care of the rest. I trusted him. I trusted him with all my heart, even though I barely knew him. And I will laugh at anyone who tells me different. The professionals could tell me it doesn't work that way. But I've seen different. I have felt his protection. And after 3 Purple Hearts, I can tell you that I have trusted the Lord with 100% confidence. I had never read the Bible, let alone the Psalms. My faith at this point was as small as a mustard seed. A mustard seed planted by my grandmother in a tiny apartment on the 6th floor in the projects in Brooklyn, New York. And then the seed was watered by soldiers who were living their faith in a very unfaithful environment. I gave a sermon about that one time. the first person to ever give me a Bible in my life. I had no clue. There was a psalm that tells you to do this. There's a Trust in God psalm that literally gives you instructions for when evil knocks on your door. Psalm 37, verse 5 in specific. Verse 5 says, "Commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will act." I want you all to know I'm genuinely sad we can't go into Psalm 37 today, but Claire says you would like to have lunch at some time today. Okay. So,
You're welcome.
all right. We see in verses 4 and 5 David asking for protection with ultimate confidence. Let's go back to it. One thing have I asked of the Lord, one thing I have desired of the Lord, that I will seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in his temple. For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion, in the secret place of his tabernacle. He shall hide me. He shall set me high upon a rock. These verses reveal why David is so confident. He seeks to dwell in the house of the Lord and rest in the shelter of God's sanctuary when trouble arrives. Think of the example I gave earlier. When trouble arrives, David isn't going to make a move without consulting God first. He knows that when things go wrong, you have to lean on God. And this isn't the only psalm David echoes this message, where David is telling us to trust God, and courage comes through trusting God. I know I keep saying that over and over again, but a long time ago I heard of a preaching method called echoing, where you purposely say your message over and over again to get it through people. So that's why I'm going to continue to say courage comes through trusting in God. So we're going to take a moment to run through a free sampler of the Trust in God Psalms, and then we'll switch gears and we're going to get into 3 points in Joshua 1. I said the goal of today's sermon was to boost courage, so here we go. Behold poetry masterfully crafted by the Father Almighty, and your free sampler of Trust in God Psalms. Yes, it is a good idea to take a picture of this slide, those of you with your phone out. It is a good idea. In Psalm 18, okay, I'm going to read these Psalms, and some of them aren't going to be on the board today. Which means you get way more than you thought you would. Right? So even more free Trust in God Psalms. But Psalm, this is very short, some of these. In Psalm 18, verse 2, David declares God as his rock, fortress, and shield, stating, "My God, my strength, in whom I will trust." This psalm we're in today, Psalm 27, is often titled not the Psalm of Trust in God, the Song. This is the song of trust in God. In it, David proclaims he will not be afraid even if war breaks out, stating, "Though an army besiege me, my heart shall not fear." In Psalm 31, verse 14, David openly declares, "But I trust in you, Lord. I say, you are my God." Let me see if 31 is up there.
Listen, stop giving me your sermon.
Psalm 56, verse 3. Verse 3. That one's up there. One of the most famous verses on trust. When I am afraid, I put my trust in you. I love this because then I didn't feel ashamed anymore. I only looked for God when I was a coward, when I was scared. And when I read this, I don't feel ashamed about that. It's just a natural feeling. In Psalm 62, verse 8, David encourages his community, trust in him at all times. You people, pour out your hearts to him, for God is our refuge. In Psalm 37, last but not least, my favorite, Psalm 37. In this psalm, David advises others to trust in the Lord and do good, and promises that if you commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will act. Yeah. These were my ultimate orders when things really got bad. When things seemed to get out of control or go downhill, I knew with God I was safe, regardless if I lived or not. I didn't realize back then because I had never read the Psalms, but in my heart I knew to trust in God. Something in my head kept saying, just do good and he will look out for you. Mm-hmm. I knew that when trouble showed up, if I commit my ways to the Lord and do good, he would act, he would protect me. Because we have such a big leadership change in this church, I want to switch gears and head over to, I feel like I've beaten the trust into the Psalms as much as I could. And there's so much more in there. So much more. Even parts where David is, it sounds like he's laughing and bragging about the enemies that have come to attack him because of the Lord. Mm-hmm. And I want to focus on 3 points in here in Joshua. It's God's mission continues, God's presence remains, and God's courage comes through trust. I'm going to read verses 1 and 2. Okay. Now after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spoke to Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' assistant, saying, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, you and all this people, to the land which I am giving to them, the children of Israel, every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon, that I have given you, as I said to Moses. Thank the Lord that Nathan is not dead, and Monty is not like Joshua. He's not going to put us to death if we don't listen to him. But we should listen to him. We should listen to Monty when he gets here. This is spiritual warfare, and I'm trying to make light of the situation. We have a man down, and that man, he was a leader. His family was a huge part of this church as well. But to our first point, God's mission continues.